I love you in the morning, your kiss is deep and warm, your head upon the pillow like a sleepy autumn storm. There's many love before us, I know that we are not new. In city and in forest they smile like me and you, but now it's come to distances and things we can't untie. Eyes are soft with sorrow, hey, that's a way to say goodbye. So instead, I'll say, hello chaps, Paul Curran here. I hope you and all the listeners are well. My apologies for that rendition of what is simply a beautiful song by Leonard Cohen. At the cinema a week or so ago, I saw the documentary that's just been released entitled Marianne and Leonard, and it tells of the turbulent, resilient love between Leonard Cohen and his muse Mariana, for whom he wrote the song So Long Marianne, amongst many others. This from the Telegraph, middle of November last year. Leonard Cohen sent a touching final letter to his dying muse, Marianne Ihlen, the subject of his song So Long Marianne. Ihlen, who was also the inspiration behind Bird on the Wire, died in Norway on July the 29th at the age of 81. Cohen met Mariana, then with the surname Jensen, in Hydra, Greece in the 1960s. They became lovers, staying together for a decade. Her close friend Jan Christian Mollestad told Canada's CBC Radio that he had contacted Cohen, 81, to tell him Ihlen was dying of leukemia and had only a few days to live. He recalled, "It took only 2 hours and in came this beautiful letter from Leonard to Marianne. We brought this letter in to her the next day and she was fully conscious and she was so happy that he had written something for her." In the film, we see Marianne hearing the letter from a hospital bed, and a very touching denouement to the film it is. Mollestad, a documentary filmmaker, read the letter to her before she died. He recalled, it said, "Well, Marianne, it's come to this time when we are really so old and our bodies are falling apart, and I think I will follow you very soon. Know that I am so close behind you that if you stretch out your hand, I think you can reach mine. And you know that I've always loved you for your beauty and for your wisdom, but I don't need to say anything more about that because you know all about that. But now I just want to wish you a very good journey. Goodbye, old friend. Endless love. See you down the road. Leonard." Indeed, very touching. Cohen himself has died subsequently, of course. Anyway, before he was an established singer-songwriter with Suzanne, Bird on a Wire, So Long Marianne, Stranger, and other such wonderful works, he was a published poet. And it's just a few short poems of Leonard Cohen's that I wish to share with you now. This is called There Are Some Men. There are some men who should have mountains to bear their names to time. Grave markers are not high enough or green, and sons go far away to lose the fist their father's hand will always seem. I had a friend. He lived and died in mighty silence and with dignity, left no book, son, or lover to mourn. Nor is this a mourning song, but only a naming of this mountain on which I walk, fragrant, dark, and softly white under the pale mist. I name this mountain after him. Cohen born into a wealthy Montreal Jewish um, upbringing, and really the Jewish aristocracy his family was described as being part of in the documentary that I saw. Um, his mother was eccentric, if not mad, and though good fun, and he recounts how music was never far away. His close relationship with his mother, would be repeated throughout the years with many women. Leonard Cohen was fascinated by women and admired them greatly, and he was nothing if not a ladies' man, which was the title of one of his less successful albums, produced by Phil Spector, I believe. So I'll try and find now some poems about love or lust, two of the things which occupy many of his poems. This is simply called Poem. I heard of a man who says words so beautifully that if he only speaks their name, women give themselves to him. If I am dumb beside your body, while silence blossoms like tumors on our lips, it's because I hear a man climb stairs and clear his throat outside our door. This is the fly. In his black armour, the housefly marched the field of Freya's sleeping thighs, undisturbed by the soft hand which vaguely moved to end his exercise. And it ruined my day. This fly, which never planned to charm her or to please, should walk boldly on that ground I tried so hard to lay my trembling knees. This is called The Warrior Boats. The warrior boats from Portugal strain at piers with ribs exposed, and seagull generations fall through the wood anatomy. But in the town, their passion unimpaired, the beautiful dead crewmen go climbing in the lanes, boasting poems and bitten coins. Handsome bastards, what do they care if the empire has withered to half a peninsula, if the queen has the king's adviser for her last and seventh lover? Their maps have not changed, thighs still are white and warm, new boundaries have not altered, the marvellous landscape of bosoms, nor a congress relegated the red mouth to a foreign district. Then let the ships disintegrate at the edge of the land. The gulls will find another place to die. Let the home ports put on mourning and little clerks complete the necessary papers. But you swagger on, my enemy sailors, go climbing in the lanes, boasting your poems and bitten coins, go knocking on all the windows of the town. At one place you will find my love, asleep and waiting, and I cannot know how long she has dreamed of all of you. Oh, remove my coat gently from her shoulders. Yes, in one of his songs, Cohen wrote, there is a war between those who say there is a war and those who say there isn't. There is a war between the rich and poor, the man and the woman. Why don't you come on back to the war? Don't be a tourist. He was fascinated, intrigued, encapsulated by the relationships that he had with women, and particularly with Marianne, of course. Just see if there's one more Cohen poem. This poem, very short, is notable really only because it references in capital letters the title of a book that Cohen would write the following year, that being 1966, and his book was criticised as being the most obscene novel ever published in Canada or similar upon its release. This is called So You're the Kind of Vegetarian. So you're the kind of vegetarian that only eats roses. Is that what you mean with your beautiful losers? That was written by him in 1965. Another trip to the cinema, this last night, and quite a lengthy one, found me watching the uncut, the final lengthy version of Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, and which of course you'll remember is set in the Vietnam War, the chaos of the Vietnam War, and the principal character is sent in to locate and kill a rogue general played by Marlon Brando, and the story follows very closely Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Well, at the end of the film, we encounter Brando, and I was struck by the poetry which we hear him mumbling. T.S. Eliot. Prior to that, outside we've got a wild-eyed Dennis Hopper as this war photographer who's amongst the tribe at the end in deepest Cambodia, and in his machine gun delivery he misquotes Kipling and also T.S. Eliot. We hear Brando studying his books. He's got the golden bough there. It looks remarkably clean given the weather, and the Eliot that he reads is the beginning of The Hollow Men, but it is in fact the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which I wish to share with you now, and the line about the not hearing the mermaids singing is what Hopper's character tells us of. It's a very early poem by Eliot, and thinking about previous Poetry Corner contributions, I remember discussing The Wasteland and Eliot's close friendship with Ezra Pound, who edited it. But this poem predates The Wasteland, and it's one of his more readily accessible poems. It tells of J. Alfred Prufrock with all his insecurities and his concerns with social decorum, amongst other things. It goes like this. It was written in 1916, I think I'm right in saying. In 1917, from Prufrock and Other Observations, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room, the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once about the house and fell asleep. And indeed there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you, and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare, and do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say, how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions which a minute will reverse. For I have known them all already, known them all, have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying with a dying fall beneath the music from a farther room. So how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all, the eyes that fix you in a formulated phrase. And when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt ends of my days and ways? And how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl, and should I then presume, and how should I begin? Shall I say I have gone at dusk through narrow streets, and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And the afternoon, the evening, sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or it malingers, stretched on the floor here beside you and me. Should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head, grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker, and in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it, after all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea, among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me, would it have been worth while to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all, if one, settling a pillow by her head, should say, that's not what I meant at all, that's not it at all. And would it have been worth it, after all? Would it have been worth while, after the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this and so much more? It is impossible to say just what I mean. But as if a magic lantern threw the nerves in patterns on a screen, would it have been worth while if one settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning toward the window should say, that's not it at all, that's not what I meant at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two. Advise the prince, no doubt an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse, at times indeed, almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. I grow old, I grow old, I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. I do not think that they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back, when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us, and we drown.